I want to talk about my weird horror opinions. Now, these are going to be kind of similar to like unpopular horror opinions, I suppose. I've done a couple variations of that, like a couple videos already. I will link them up here and in the description if you want to see my general unpopular horror opinions. So I'm not going to reiterate any of those. But these are more like weird. I call them my weird horror opinions because they're just kind of like bizarre. And I could see people disagreeing with me, but I could also see some people agreeing. So I don't think they're necessarily unpopular, but they are weird. So the first one is my favorite method to watch a found footage horror movie. Now, obviously on the channel, if you've been around, you know that I reiterate all the time that found footage horror movies are like my favorite style of horror movies, even though my favorite movies of all time aren't necessarily found footage. Like there are some overlap there, but entertainment wise, I think found footage is up there. Like I personally will always be entertained by a found footage movie, but I have a very specific method in which I like to watch my found footage movie to make them be the most effective for me personally. I think found footage horror movies are best viewed on a small screen with headphones in. And by small screen, I mean on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, in your bed with your headphones on. That's my favorite way to watch a found footage movie. I like to think of found footage movies as like literally found footage. So if you were going to stumble upon this footage on the internet, it would most likely be on your phone, or, you know, like if it was a YouTube video or something, or I don't know, just a weird video circulating the internet, you would most likely watch it on like a laptop and a tablet or a phone. So to me, it's the most immersive way to watch a found footage movie, and I think is how found footage should actually be watched. And I only have an iPhone 12, like my screen is not very large at all, and I think the smaller the screen, the better for a found footage horror movie. I think that's a weird way to watch a horror movie. I think there's so many film snobs that are like scoffing at the screen right now, but specifically about something about found footage that I think should just be viewed on the smallest screen possible and like with headphones in, and that makes it the most immersive, scary experience. Also, another maybe unpopular opinion, but found footage is the most entertaining subgenre of horror. Like no matter what, without a doubt, I'm going to get enjoyment out of a found footage movie, no matter how low the budget is, no matter how bad the performances are. I just feel like there is so much you can do with found footage. I don't even mind the cliches all the time. Like we have gotten some new found footage movies this year that have done the cliches, and I didn't even care. I didn't even care. I think I have more lenience when it comes to viewing found footage and like the experience of watching it than I do with like other big major theater releases. I'm a little bit more critical of those than with a found footage movie. I'm gonna be like so easy with it. Like I don't know if that's fair necessarily, but I'm just so biased when it comes to found footage, and I wish I could make one. Like I want to make a found footage horror movie so bad you don't even know. So let me know if that's something I should work on as a project in the future. Next weird, maybe unpopular horror opinion, religious horror has had its day. Now, don't get me wrong, I like a lot of religious horror, especially from this year, which I think this year is the most oversaturated of religious horror that we've gotten pretty much over any year, because for some reason every movie is turning into a religious horror movie. Even the ones that I didn't think were going to be religious are turning into religious horror movies. I just think we've reached the point of religious horror that it's become such a trope. If not, we already reached that like 5-10 years ago, but it's become such a trope. It's like zombie movies. It's like we're getting to that point where it's a little bit, not even a little bit, it's a lot cliche, okay? I think we're just beating it into the ground a little bit. And again, I don't really think this is a weird or that unpopular horror opinion, because I have seen some people talk about this already in the community, and you know, criticizing a little bit why we're focusing so much on religious horror. Like, we just need to give it a rest, give it a little bit of a break, because I do like it generally. There are a lot of exorcism type movies that I really enjoy. This year alone, we've had Immaculate and The First Omen, and those are two incredible religious horror movies. The First Omen being one of my favorite movies to come out of this year entirely. I just think we need to take a little bit of a break, and to be honest, this is kind of another unpopular opinion, maybe, let's bring zombies back. I think zombies need to make a comeback. And you know what? they kind of are. I mean, we've gotten The Last of Us, which is arguably zombies. We're getting 28 Years Later soon. I think that's going to be coming out next year. So I think zombies are slowly starting to come back, but I'm not over zombies. I think we had enough of a break with paranormal and religious horror movies in the 2010s that we can now move back into that a little bit. Not overdone. Let's not overdo it again, okay? We don't need to have every movie be zombies or anything. But I do enjoy the zombie trope, and I do enjoy the religious trope. I just think we need to slow it down a little bit. Let us savor it, you know, like have 1 or 2 a year, not 10. My next possibly weird horror opinion, I think black and white as a technique should make a comeback. Now, obviously this has already kind of happened. There's very few movies, but there have been modern movies like A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. The Lighthouse obviously was in black and white. And I have to mention the new Twilight Zone that aired that Jordan Peele hosted. No one talked about that. That show was so good, okay? I don't know why no one really talked about that show when it aired. And you have the option to watch those episodes in black and white if you choose. And I highly, highly recommend doing that. We watched a couple episodes in black and white, and it just made the experience so much better. And I think it's an underrated technique, and I actually did enjoy that aspect of The Lighthouse. Even though I didn't like the movie as a whole, I thought it was a little bit too, say it with me now, artsy fartsy, but I appreciated the different like technique choices, and like it was at least a unique horror movie and very bizarre. It just wasn't for me personally, like story-wise and everything, but there were so many aspects that I actually really appreciated. The performances, the casting was great, but also the black and white aspect. I think that was a great choice, and I think we need to see that more often, and we need to bring that back. Again, I don't want to overdo it necessarily because not every movie is going to be effective in black and white, but I think there are some that could use a little bit more of an artistic technique like that. Okay, my next one is definitely going to be a weird opinion that I don't think a lot of people are going to agree with me with, and this one is like circumstantial a little bit for me. I kind of fell into this routine because of my lifestyle now, but I never ever go to a horror movie screening or like go to the movies on opening night or on a busy weekend evening, like Friday, Saturday. Absolutely not. I think middle of the day is the best time of day to watch a horror movie. I know. I can't stand a packed theater. I'm sorry. I never really have a good experience when a theater is packed. I don't need the commentary. I don't need the laughing. I don't need any of that to really add to my experience. Have I had moments where that's been the case? Sure, possibly. But generally, I don't need any of that to add to my experience in the theater. So I would prefer to be the only one in there, or like a couple other people in there, especially when it comes to PG-13 horror movies, because I don't want to dog on like a community, an entire community, but I do think movies that appeal to like younger generations get the worst audiences. Okay, something about horror movies attract this certain breed of people who just don't have movie theater etiquette, and it's just getting worse and worse over the years, and it's just unbearable. Like the people who film with their flash on, taking pictures in the movie theater, spilling their popcorn on the ground, talking, obviously, laughing out loud over the movie, you know, while people are trying to pay attention. I just can't stand any of that, so I just avoid it personally. Now, obviously, this is circumstantial, like I said, because of my lifestyle now as a mom. I have to go during certain times of the day, like whenever my partner can watch her, obviously. So I've just kind of fallen into that. But even before I had my daughter, I still went to the theater by myself all the time, middle of the day. It's always been my preference because it's just so chill. There's no one around. Also, going to the movies in the middle of the day by yourself, that's elite. That's the elite film experience and my preferred way to watch movies. I love going to movies by myself. I always have. It's just so fun. And then I usually go to like a studio movie grill, so I get like a little snack. And it's just like nice, you know, or a little drink. The only downside is you don't have anyone to talk about the movie with after you watch it. But sometimes that's good for me personally to have some introspection and for me to form my own opinions and not have anyone bounce ideas off of. And then I can just like film my review from just my perspective. Okay, so the last couple things I want to talk about in this video are a little bit drastic. They're a little bit brutal, maybe, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this on the internet, especially for what I do for a living, but I have to say that most horror movies are cash grabs. Okay, listen, every movie, every studio company, every production company wants to make money at the end of the day. We know this. But I do feel like we are in this period of time where money is the major focus and we're not putting in a lot of effort into the art of filmmaking anymore. Now, I don't want to name any names, but there are some production companies that kind of feel like money laundering schemes a little bit, okay? Again, I shouldn't be saying this. They have huge budgets and then they make terrible movies and then they make triple back their budget. And it leaves me a little bit confused and why they are so widespread and do so well in theaters when other movies bomb so terribly or are removed from theaters after 2 weeks time only. And they always utilize the same formulas over and over and over again, or reboots, remakes, and sequels. They do franchise stuff and because it's easy. And I'm not going to go on a rant about that because I'm so over talking about that for the last 5 years. But they feel like they don't have to put in as much effort. And I don't know where the budgets go. I'm looking at the movie. I'm like, how did that cost that much money? Because you did all this pretty sure in one take. So what are we doing with that money? Anyway, and then they make up a lot of money. So they feel like they don't have to put in all the effort that it takes to make a really good, solid movie. And maybe, you know, it's all subjective. It's all my opinion. Also, confession. This is a confession. If I didn't do this for a living, there are many movies I would not be watching in theaters. I don't think that's that surprising. Like, obviously you don't see every single movie in theaters unless you do this for a living or you're like that passionate about the genre, but there are many movies this year that I just wish I didn't spend my time on because my time these days is precious. I don't have a lot of time. Granted, I don't have to do anything. I can pick and choose if I want, but I am bitter that I missed out on Furiosa because there were so many horror movies coming out that month and then it didn't even stay in theaters that long, so I didn't even get to watch Furiosa in theaters, which I was really excited about. Maybe that's all a little bit too negative of a conversation, and I shouldn't have gone there, but sometimes I do get a little bit frustrated with production companies that are lazy and they do the same formulas and they're not putting in the effort into making really good movies because they have the budgets and they make back their budgets tenfold a lot of the time, and then they continue to make lazy movies, and that's just something that's really frustrating to me. I really do think indie horror is the major focus, and I think we should all be looking towards indie horror movies, which is why I'm trying to spotlight so many of them this year. I will link my videos on the more independent horror movie releases that have come out this year, and definitely watch those, not just the ones that go to theaters, because I think it's important to support independent movies and not just the major releases. I had another point and it's really upsetting me that I can't remember what I was going to say. I was trying not to interrupt myself and now I can't remember it. So those are what I would consider my weird horror opinions, and possibly unpopular. You tell me. Leave your thoughts about all of these opinions in the comments down below, and make sure you tell me a weird horror opinion. I've kind of talked about the genre in like a vague sense, like a broad topic, but if you have any specific things about certain movies you want to share that are unpopular or just weird, please do down below. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will talk to you soon. Bye.